She will meet many men in her life. Some will make her laugh, some will buy her things, some will tell her she is beautiful every single day, but most of them she will forget. Their faces will blur together, their words will fade into silence, because being memorable is not about what you give, it is about what you make her feel when you are gone. This is the truth that Niccolo Machiavelli understood about power. He said that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But in attraction, fear is not about terror. It is about emotional weight. It is the feeling that something important just walked out of the room. And that feeling, that absence, is what creates memory. Most men disappear the moment they leave. You must learn to stay in her mind even when your body is nowhere near. That is the beginning of dark psychology in attraction. Not tricks, not games, but understanding how memory works, how emotion burns into the brain, how uncertainty creates obsession. Let me ask you something. Think about the people you remember most. Were they the ones who gave you everything? Or were they the ones who made you feel something you could not name? The ones who left questions in your chest? The ones whose silence felt louder than anyone else's words? That is where we begin. With the understanding that memory is not built from comfort, it is built from tension, from unfinished emotion, from the feeling that something was left unsaid. Carl Jung taught us about the shadow self, the part of us we hide from the world. He said that we are most attracted to what we have not integrated within ourselves. When you show only light, you become flat, predictable. But when she senses that you carry depth she cannot see, her mind begins to work. She starts to imagine what lives beneath your calm surface. This is not about pretending to be dark or mysterious. It is about understanding that wholeness includes shadow. A man who smiles all the time feels fake. A man who never shows emotion feels cold. But a man who is warm, yet holds something back, that man feels real, dangerously real. You must stop trying to be perfect. Perfection is forgettable. It has no edge, no texture. A smooth stone is nice to look at, but it does not stay in your hand. What stays is the stone with a rough surface, the one that presses into your palm, the one you feel even after you let it go. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that desire is suffering, that we are driven by a will we cannot fully control. And he was right. She does not choose you with logic. She chooses you with the part of her brain that craves what it does not have, what it cannot predict, what it fears losing before it even owns. So the question is not how to make her like you. The question is how to become the feeling she cannot escape, the thought that returns at night, the name that appears in her mind when she is alone. And that begins with your presence, not your words, not your gifts, but the energy you carry into a space. Machiavelli said that the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. Therefore, one must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. In attraction, you must be both. Strong enough to stand alone, smart enough to move in silence. When you enter her life, do not fill every gap. Do not answer every question. Let some things remain open. Let her wonder where your mind goes when you stop talking. Let her feel that you have a world she has not entered yet. That world is what she will think about when you are not there. Friedrich Nietzsche said that behind your thoughts and feelings, there stands a mighty ruler, an unknown sage, whose name is self. You must build that self into something solid, something that does not bend when she tests you, something that does not crumble when she pulls away. Because women test not to hurt, but to see if you are real. If your strength is performance or nature, most men fail that test immediately. They panic, they chase, they explain themselves, and in that panic, they prove that they were never strong at all, just pretending. But you will not pretend. You will be the man who remains calm when everything shakes. The man who does not need her approval to know his worth. And that calmness, that unshakable center, is what burns into her memory, because she has seen men break. She has watched them fold, but she has rarely met a man who stays whole, who looks at her with steady eyes and does not flinch when she looks away. That man does not fade. That man becomes legend in her mind. Memory is not created by presence. It is created by absence, by the space you leave behind, by the silence that follows your last word. Most men fear that silence. They rush to fill it with more talking, more texting, more attention. But that is the mistake, because the moment you fill every space, you remove the room for her to miss you. Machiavelli understood this about power. He wrote that a prince must learn to be absent at the right times. That constant visibility breeds contempt, not because people are ungrateful, but because familiarity removes mystery. When something is always available, the mind stops reaching for it. But when something pulls back, the mind cannot help but follow. You must become comfortable with distance, not cold distance, not punishment, but the natural distance of a man who has a life that matters. When she texts you, do not reply in seconds, not because you were playing games, but because you were actually doing something, building something, thinking about something bigger than her last message. This is the difference between strategy and authenticity. Strategy is pretending to be busy. Authenticity is actually being busy, and women feel that difference in your energy. They sense when you are performing absence versus living purpose. Sigmund Freud spoke about the pleasure principle and the reality principle. He said we are driven by the desire for immediate satisfaction, but maturity comes when we delay that gratification for something greater. The man who needs her validation right now, this second, is still a child in his psychology. But the man who can wait, who can sit with uncertainty, who can allow time to pass without panic, that man has crossed into power. She will sense this maturity, not in your words, but in your rhythm, in how long you take to respond, in how you do not react to her moods, in how your energy stays level while hers rises and falls. That steadiness becomes the anchor her emotions crash against. And every time she crashes and you do not move, you become more solid in her mind. Think about water and stone. Water is emotion, constantly moving, changing shape, seeking cracks. Stone is presence, unmoved, patient, weathered, but whole. Over time, water can carve through stone, yes, but only if the stone has cracks. Only if it is weak beneath the surface. Your job is to remove those cracks, to become so solid inside that her emotional waves only make you smoother. Carl Jung said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But notice what he said. If there is reaction, not when, if. Some meetings do nothing. Some people pass through each other like ghosts. No mark, no memory, no transformation. You must create reaction, but not through force, through contrast. When everyone around her is predictable, you must be variable. When everyone chases, you must pause. When everyone explains, you must simply smile. That contrast is what creates the chemical reaction Jung spoke of. That is what burns you into her nervous system. Let me tell you what happens in her brain when you pull back. Her mind enters a state called intermittent reinforcement. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you never know which is coming. So the brain stays alert, stays engaged, keeps playing. When you are always available, there is no game. She knows exactly what she will get. Comfort, safety, predictability. And those things are nice, but they do not create obsession. Obsession comes from uncertainty. From the moments you were there, and then you were not. From the warmth you gave, and then withdrew. Not cruelly, not as punishment, but as the natural rhythm of a man who exists beyond her orbit. Arthur Schopenhauer wrote that we forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. Most men do this in attraction. They become what they think she wants. They sand down their edges. They hide their opinions. They agree with everything. And in doing so, they erase themselves. They become a reflection of her desires, not a man of their own. But you must stay whole. You must keep your edges. If she says something you disagree with, you say so calmly, without anger, without needing to be right. You simply state your truth and let it stand. That moment of friction, that small conflict, does more for attraction than 100 compliments. Because conflict means you are real. You have shape. You have boundaries. Women do not fall in love with mirrors. They fall in love with mountains, with something that does not move when they push, with something that stays itself no matter what weather comes. There is a moment in every interaction when she decides if you are like the others or if you are different. That moment is not when you speak. It is when you stay silent. When everyone else would fill the air with nervous words, and you simply breathe. That pause, that willingness to let tension exist, tells her everything about your internal world. Nietzsche said that he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. The man who knows his purpose does not scramble for her attention. He does not break himself into pieces trying to fit her idea of perfect. He moves through life with direction, and she either walks beside him or she does not. That indifference to outcome is not cruelty. It is freedom, and freedom is magnetic. Most men make themselves prisoners to her approval. They check their phones obsessively. They replay conversations looking for mistakes. They change their plans the moment she becomes available. And all of this tells her one thing: that you have no center, that your life revolves around her gravity instead of your own. But when you have purpose, real purpose, something shifts. You stop being available all the time because you are genuinely busy. You stop overthinking her words because you have your own thoughts to think. You stop seeking her validation because you are building something that validates itself. And that shift in energy changes everything. She begins to feel it. The way you are present when you are with her, but not desperate when you are apart. The way you listen deeply, but do not need to know everything. The way you show interest, but not obsession. This balance, this middle path between attention and independence, is where attraction lives. Carl Jung spoke about the principle of opposites. He said that the psyche seeks balance. Too much of anything becomes its opposite. Too much kindness becomes weakness. Too much strength becomes rigidity. Too much mystery becomes distance. The art is in the dance between extremes. Warm, but not needy. Strong, but not cold. Present, but not suffocating. You must learn this dance. And it begins with observing yourself. When you are with her, notice your impulses. The urge to impress. The need to fill silence. The fear that if you do not entertain her, she will lose interest. These impulses come from insecurity, from the belief that you are not enough as you are, and she feels that belief like a smell in the air. But when you silence those impulses, when you allow yourself to simply exist without performance, something powerful happens. You become authentic, and authenticity is rare. Most people are performing all the time, trying to be smarter, funnier, more interesting than they are. But you were just there, solid, real, unashamed of your humanness. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. This is the mask we all wear, the social face, the performance of self. But in moments of intimacy, in moments of quiet, the mask must crack. She must see glimpses of the real you, not all at once, not in a desperate confession, but in small moments. A flash of vulnerability, a moment of honesty, a look that says more than words. These cracks in the mask are not weakness. They are doorways. They let her step closer. They make you human instead of image. But here is the key. You control when those cracks appear. You do not bleed your emotions everywhere. You do not make her your therapist. You choose the moments you reveal in layers. And each layer makes her more invested because she feels she is discovering you, not that you are dumping yourself on her. Ernest Becker said that man is literally split in two. He has an awareness of his own splendid uniqueness, and yet he goes back into the ground a few feet to rot and disappear forever. This terror of death, this awareness of our mortality, drives much of human behavior. We seek to be remembered, to matter, to leave a mark. And in relationships, this plays out in a specific way. She wants to feel that she matters to you, but not that she is everything to you. Not that your entire existence depends on her, because that is too much weight. That is pressure, not love. Instead, she wants to feel that she adds to your life, that she is important, but not your oxygen, that you would miss her, but not collapse without her. This distinction is everything. The man who makes her his entire world seems romantic at first, but soon it becomes suffocating. His happiness becomes her responsibility. His moods become her problem. His life becomes her burden. And she begins to pull away, not because she does not care, but because she cannot breathe. But you will not make that mistake. You will have your own world, your own friends, your own passions, your own silence. And when she enters that world, she enhances it. She does not complete it. There is a specific moment when attraction transforms into obsession. It happens when she realizes she cannot control you, not through beauty, not through emotion, not through withdrawal. When she tests you with silence and you do not break. When she pushes you away and you do not chase. When she plays games and you simply smile and walk your own path. That is when something clicks in her mind. That is when you become the puzzle she must solve. Machiavelli understood that power is perception. He said that the one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not. In attraction, this means reading the moment, knowing when to step closer and when to step back, when to speak and when to let silence do the work. This is not manipulation. This is awareness. This is emotional intelligence used with purpose. Most men have no awareness. They push when they should pull. They talk when they should listen. They chase when they should pause, and then they wonder why she disappeared. The answer is simple. They could not read the energy. They could not feel the shift in temperature. They moved like a man in the dark, crashing into furniture, while you must move like a man who sees in shadows. Albert Camus wrote about the conflict between our human need for meaning and the silent, meaningless universe. He said we must imagine Sisyphus happy, pushing his boulder up the mountain forever. Why? Because he accepted the absurdity. He stopped fighting reality and found freedom in the struggle itself. In attraction, you must do the same. You must stop fighting for guaranteed outcomes. Stop needing her to love you. Stop pushing the boulder uphill, expecting it to stay at the top. Instead, find freedom in the uncertainty. Enjoy the conversation for the conversation. Enjoy her company for what it is, not for what it might become. This detachment from outcome is what creates magnetism, because she feels that you are not trying to trap her. You are not building a cage of expectations. You are simply present, enjoying the moment, and if she walks away, you will continue enjoying your life. That freedom terrifies and attracts her in equal measure. It terrifies her because she cannot control it. It attracts her because it is so rare. Every other man needs something from her: commitment, validation, sex, love. But you need nothing. You want her company, but you do not need it. And that difference is everything. Nietzsche spoke of the will to power. Not power over others, but power over oneself. The ability to command your own impulses, to master your reactions, to choose your emotions instead of being chosen by them. This is the foundation of dark psychology. Not controlling her, but controlling yourself so completely that your presence becomes undeniable. When she tries to make you jealous, you feel the emotion, but you do not show it. You acknowledge it internally, then let it pass like a cloud. When she cancels plans, you feel disappointment, but you do not punish her. You simply say no problem and make other plans. When she tests your patience, you feel frustration, but you do not react. You breathe, you center, you respond from calm, not chaos. This self-mastery is what separates boys from men. Boys react, men respond. Boys are controlled by their emotions. Men feel emotions but are not enslaved by them. And she sees this difference immediately. She watches how you handle stress, how you deal with disappointment, how you manage conflict. And in those moments, she decides if you are solid or hollow. Peter Wessel Zapef wrote about the human condition as a tragic over-evolution. He said we are conscious beings in a world that does not care about consciousness, that we create meaning in a universe of matter, and this creates suffering. But from that suffering comes depth, comes character, comes the ability to sit with pain and not run from it. You must develop this ability. When she hurts you, and she will, you do not lash out. You do not play victim. You feel the pain, you process it, and you remain whole. This is not about suppressing emotion. This is about digesting it, about letting it move through you without destroying you. And when she sees that you can hold pain without breaking, she realizes you are safe. Not safe in a boring way. Safe in a deep way. Safe like the ocean is safe. Dangerous, but navigable if you know what you are doing. Thomas Ligotti explored the horror of consciousness. The fact that we are aware of our own existence and our inevitable end. He saw this as nightmare. But in that nightmare is also power. The power to choose how we spend our limited time. The power to decide what matters. The power to look at her and say, I choose to be here now, but I do not need to be here forever. Everything we have discussed leads to one truth. She will not remember the man who gave her everything. She will remember the man who made her feel everything. The man who was there, and then was not. The man who understood her, but remained unknowable. The man who touched something deep inside her consciousness and then walked away, leaving fingerprints on her soul. This is not cruelty, this is nature. Carl Jung said that the pendulum of the mind alternates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Attraction is not logical. It does not follow rules of fairness or justice. It follows patterns of energy, of tension and release, of presence and absence, of safety and danger mixed into something the mind cannot categorize. You must become that mixture. Not safe, not dangerous. Both a man she feels comfortable with, but never completely understands. A man who listens to her deepest thoughts, but keeps his own thoughts guarded. A man who shows affection, but never desperation. This balance is the edge she cannot walk away from, because the moment she thinks she has figured you out, you shift, not dramatically, not obviously, just enough to make her question what she thought she knew. Machiavelli said, "It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver." But in attraction, you are not deceiving her. You are revealing yourself in layers. Each conversation peels back one layer, but 7 more remain. Each moment of vulnerability shows her something real, but not everything real. She gets closer, but never arrives. And that journey, that constant moving toward something just out of reach, is what creates the obsession. Most men make the mistake of revealing everything too soon. They think honesty means dumping their entire history in the first week. Their fears, their wounds, their insecurities, their needs. And while vulnerability is important, timing is everything. You do not build a house by throwing all the materials in a pile. You place each brick deliberately, each beam with purpose, each window where light is needed. Your story is the same. You give her pieces when she has earned them, when she has shown that she can hold them, when the moment calls for depth. Not because you are withholding, but because some things are sacred. Some parts of you are not for casual consumption. And when she realizes that access to your inner world is earned, not given, that access becomes valuable. Nietzsche wrote that what does not kill me makes me stronger. You have been broken before. You have suffered. You have faced darkness. And instead of hiding those scars, you acknowledge them, but you do not use them as excuses. You do not make her fix you. You show her that you have walked through fire and came out forged, not destroyed. That your strength is not untested theory, it is proven metal. This is what makes you unforgettable. Not perfection, not pretending you have never fallen, but showing her that you know how to get back up, that you do not need saving, that you have saved yourself already. And if she wants to walk beside you, she is welcome. But you are walking either way. Arthur Schopenhauer said that a man can be himself only so long as he is alone. And if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. You must love being alone, not in a bitter way, not in a lonely way, but in a complete way. You must build a life where solitude is peace, not punishment, where your own company is enough, where you do not need her to make the hours meaningful. Because when she sees that you are whole without her, she wants to be part of that wholeness. When she sees that you are happy alone, she wants to add to that happiness. But when she sees that you are incomplete, that you are waiting for her to fill the gaps, she runs. Not because she is cruel, but because she is not a missing piece. She is a whole person looking for another whole person. Ernest Becker said that what man really fears is not so much extinction, but extinction with insignificance. You must matter, not to everyone, not to the world, but to yourself. You must live in a way that if you died tomorrow, you would know you were real, that you stood for something, that you did not waste your days chasing approval or hiding from rejection. And when you live that way, when your days have weight and meaning, she feels it. She feels that your time is valuable, that when you give her an hour, you are giving her something precious, not because you told her it was precious, but because she sees how you spend your other hours, building, creating, thinking, growing, living with intention. That is the final piece. Intention. Every word you speak, you mean it. Every moment you are present, you are fully there. Every time you touch her, it is deliberate, not rushed, not accidental. You move through the world like a man who knows where he is going. Machiavelli's final lesson was this: the one who adapts survives, but the one who knows himself thrives. You have learned the psychology, the patterns, the principles. Now you must adapt them to who you truly are, because the greatest seduction is not technique. It is becoming so authentic, so grounded, so purposeful, that her mind cannot file you away with the others. You are not trying to be unforgettable. You are simply refusing to be forgettable. You are not playing games. You are mastering yourself. And in that mastery, in that quiet confidence, in that unshakable presence, you become the man she thinks about when she should be thinking about anything else. The man she tries to forget, but cannot. The man who marked her consciousness. The man who showed her what it feels like when someone is truly present, truly whole, truly free. That man is not a fantasy. That man is you. When you stop pretending, when you stop chasing, when you start living, and that is when everything changes.